David Grusch talks about the war on UFOs and whether or not ETs might be malevolent. Alright, let's talk about this. Get in here, this is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Alright, we've all seen the snippets leading up to the big interview with Ross Coulthart last Sunday. But we haven't heard his full thoughts on the questions that Ross posed to him. And there are some really great questions. And so let's go over some of his responses, and I will just play a few parts from that interview that I have not gone over already that are very intriguing and shed some light on what Dave has uncovered. Here goes.
The common interpretation from some commentators is that there is a non-human species and it's incredibly benevolently well disposed to the human race.
Yeah, and I think that is the logical fallacy there is because they're advanced, they're kind. We'll never really understand full intent in that because we're not them, whatever them is or are. But I think what appears to be malevolent activity has happened based on not only nuclear site probing activities, witness testimony. I think at least if we look at it through a humanistic lens, it does appear negative, at least to us.
I've been told that there have been attempts to bring down craft, that we've acted offensively against non-human craft.
There have been instances, and there are certain techniques.
Have human beings been hurt or killed by a non-human intelligence?
While I can't get into the specifics because that would reveal certain U.S. classified operations, I was briefed by a few individuals on the program that there were malevolent events like that.
No, I'm scared. People have just heard you say non-humans may well have murdered human beings.
That seems to be the case at one point, yeah.
That's a fascinating and very troubling case where many people were, well, made anemic by beams being shot at them and their deaths associated with it. It's a whole story unto its own. Here, I'll just read a document from the Black Vault. In the Prado investigation between October 1977 and January 1978, intelligence agents from the Air Force Base in Belém in northern Brazil interviewed hundreds of witnesses in Colores and about 30 other villages north of Belém. Many of the people had been burned by rays of light from UFOs that swarmed over the area. During the operation, the agents themselves saw UFOs numerous times and took hundreds of photographs. And yeah, it's a really intriguing case. The investigation lasted only 4 months, but continued unofficially through much of 1978. Yeah, it's a crazy case, and there are a few other vaguely similar incidences that and there are deaths associated with the Colores case. So was that ETs? Could that have been humans? Now that we know that we have had these craft since the late 50s or 60s, does that mean that we, could it be possible that we did this? It certainly wouldn't be the first time that Americans meddled in South America. So, that's always an option. I don't want to blanket say that ETs caused that, although I would think that it is probably likely. So there are definitely some negative aspects to the phenomenon and aspects that have caused harm to people. In the cases of the military pilots, the UFOs were acting defensively. But that does not excuse the Colores case, if indeed that was ETs. And, many people have had very traumatic encounters when they have been abducted. Whitley Strieber even uses the R word. However, his experiences became very positive later on, and that seems to be the case as with most people. According to the Edgar Mitchell Foundation, if abductees had been abducted more than 10 times, or at least 10 times, they had an 80% likelihood of being favorable toward their abductions, their contact experiences, perhaps I should say. Is that the Stockholm Syndrome, or is that an evolving relationship with the phenomenon? And there are lots of very positive contacts that people have had. Beings have taught people how to read auras and heal with their hands and move objects with their mind and all sorts of stuff like that. There are many positive contact experiences, and I think it's important to note that when talking about the negative experiences, because the phenomenon is not malevolent or negative, but there are aspects of it that seem to be. The phenomenon is not a monolith. However, to combat the negative elements, it seems like David Grusch is now saying very, point blank that there are techniques to bring these craft down, and that they have indeed been implemented. I've made multiple videos where I talk about the war on UFOs, and this has gone on globally. It's not just the U.S. doing this for decades. And we'll fire at them. Sometimes they'll fire at us. While at the same time, we seem to be working with beings, in places like Area 51 and other places. So we're working with at least one group of beings against other groups of beings. So are we being used as pawns in some sort of cosmic war? And have we chosen the right side? Do I trust the control group to have picked the right side? No, I don't have any faith in the ethics or the agenda of the control group. Now, David Grusch goes on to say that we may have had contact and maybe even an agreement with some ETs.
But if this non-human intelligence is so advanced, and at least some of them are malevolent, why haven't they destroyed us already? Perhaps some fragile yet combustible détente has been reached. Grusch has written an internal document about his discoveries that refers to agreements that risk putting our future in jeopardy. And it's quite clear that you're talking about agreements between America and non-human intelligences. Have we made agreements with non-human intelligences?
That's the kind of information I really hope national leadership is able to get to the bottom of.
I need to pin you down on this. Are there agreements between non-human intelligences and the American government?
I think that's a question that I would like to know all the details of as well.
Satisfied by that answer, but that's the answer he gave. Yeah, I would have preferred a yes or no, but he gave a very vague statement. But he definitely seems to be hinting that indeed we have had contact, potentially even an agreement. And of course we do, right? Anyway, let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. I would love to hear what you have to say about David Grusch's comments on the war on UFOs and potentially even interacting with the beings. This is crazy. This is a great story. I love it. I can't wait for more details to come out. I feel like we're just at the tip of the iceberg right now. Somebody said that David Grusch was the first domino, and that more dominoes were coming. He's knocking them over. So bring him on. Bring on the next domino. I can't wait. I can't wait for the public to be more engaged in this, for Congress to be more engaged in this. Whether it's just the House or whether it's both chambers. I think that are happening. The news has largely ignored the David Grusch story. There's been some of the mainstream news outlets that have done a piece or two on him, but they haven't really pushed the story like they should. I don't even think CNN has covered it at all. And so, it's frustrating that the mainstream news is not covering this more. And they have basically ignored Stephen Greer's press conference entirely, which is sad, but I guess the witnesses that he was bringing forward were a little too out there to engage the mainstream interest. It is what it is. Yeah, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. That'd be super awesome. Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. I would love to see you guys there. If you wanted to support the channel, that'd be super groovy. You could leave a super chat or a super thanks. Buy one of my books. I'm a science fiction fantasy writer. There's links to my books below. A Kindle book is only like $3 or $4. And there are plenty of other videos to check out on the channel. So I will see you next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road signing out.